but we just want to give you guys a chance as brothers to say something to your brother in the room and just air out anything.
I hate how nah, playing. And my dog has been with me through everything, and it'll forever be like that.
Well, we'd like to welcome the Matua Boys. We got Vehnu and Bobby here with us today. We're still keeping it close to the family. These guys are our first cousins. Their mother is someone that our dad and uncle talked about on our episode with them. But we just want to shift over and interview some more brothers. Lateral generation. These guys are Vehnu. We'll let them introduce themselves. So just tell us your name. Obviously, one of you can tell you guys where you're from, and then where you stand in your family, and then just your current familial status, whether you're a father, husband, still a brother, still a son, all that good stuff. We'll start with the oldest. We'll start with Vehnu.
Vehnu Masina. I am the oldest, best looking, and I'm the oldest. I make music. I work at a fintech company. I have 3 kids. Shout out my babies. And I'm a son to Bryant Masina and Mandy Masina. First of 1 out of 6.
7.
Yeah, 1 out of 6. So.
7.
7.
My name is Bobby Masina. I am the second oldest in our family. I also work at the same fintech company. Facts. It's always the second oldest.
You get beat up the most though.
We get disciplined the most. I would say I am a father to a beautiful daughter, Novea, and still a brother to 6 other siblings, and also son to Bryant and Mandy Masina, and we grew up in Rose Park, Utah.
There you go. And I think that was one of the main things I wanted to hit on, because I don't think you can think of 2 different places in Utah than Rose Park and Lehigh. so that's where our upbringing greatly diverges, because because both your parents are full Samoan, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
So you guys are both full Samoan. So we have half, and so that's another thing where we differ. But tell us a little bit more about growing up in Rose Park.
I would say, the dynamic between the 2 places are very different. I would say Rose Park, compared to a lot of places where a lot of people are still stuck in the chip on their shoulder mindsets, feeling like, they have something to prove. Growing up in that environment, I feel like it definitely was a blessing. It helped us touch base with a lot of people that look like us. Polynesians, same skin color, Mexicans, a lot more diversity within our friend groups growing up. But in high school, we actually went to school in Bountiful.
Oh, that's
right. I forgot about that.
So that's where we kind of had the culture shock of being the only 2 brown kids in the school. And we felt out of place at first. I'm not going to lie, out of place, but definitely it helped us realize a lot of things as well. Just being outside of what people look as the hood in Utah.
Yeah. I'm just piggybacking off of that. I wouldn't say anything much more than what he said. I'll just say, for me personally, I feel like it is a diverse place, but at the same time, growing up in those types of conditions and that type of environment, it has its pros and cons, of course, to where it toughens you up. It teaches you how to be independent, I would say, but at the same time, it was also hindering to where it was a culture shock for when we went to school up north, just because it's like, dang, we're poor, or like, this is how we're growing, like, this is how life is for people, like, or I wouldn't even say normal people, this is how life is for the majority of people here in Utah, and so I felt like us going to that school was, I would say, a blessing, just because. And I mean, even on the music side, that's how we got into alternative music, like and indie music. And so I feel like, although for me, I hated that school just because I felt like I was super tethered to my friends and my upbringing in Rose Park. I feel like it definitely broadened our perspective and forced us to think outside of that mindset that comes with being from Rose Park or being raised in that area.
So you guys are touching a little bit on Rose Park. I want to hear more about your deep-rooted connection to your Samoan culture. Like Kingston explained, we have a little bit of exposure to that culture. I'll be honest, I was always a bit envious of my cousins or my friends that grew up in a complete Samoan culture and Polynesian culture, but I always wish that I could have been more in touch and just learn a little bit more. As we grew up, Dad did a really good job at taking the opportunities to explain to us what it was like, what our heritage is. But growing up, how deep was that influence in your life, the Samoan culture?
I would say, because we went to Samoan ward growing up, I would say that for us, we weren't surrounded by as much. I feel like everyone was Americanized in Rose Park, where we weren't taught a lot from our parents. I guess our parents were just so busy trying to, keep living check to check, and for us, we never stepped out of the box to try and learn about our culture as much. So I'll be completely honest, being raised in Rose Park, I would say majority of our friends don't even speak the language, but I would say even being surrounded by people that look like us, a lot of us are just trying to survive, I guess. And living in there and trying to adapt to where we're at.
So true or false, you feel like the Rose Park culture kind of was more deeply ingrained than the Samoan and Polynesian culture?
Yeah, true.
Just for the sake of the environment. Interesting.
True.
Yeah. And even on top of that, it's just like I feel like in that area we gravitated more towards African American culture, because that was the dynamic that was a similar dynamic that we're growing up in, to where there's street kids over here, there's kids who are trying to play sports and focus on sports over here. And so I feel like for us, and I wouldn't say it's not so much that our parents didn't want to teach us. I would say, just like Vehnu said, they're more busy trying to keep the boat afloat. And I feel like, especially when you're in that type of survival mode, I would say it's kind of hard to implement some of the culture or the customs that come with that, just because we're in a foreign land, in a land where not everybody lives by those type of that same standard.
It's true. I can see that. There's a sense of convenience that comes from adapting to the environment that you're in, as opposed to trying to keep the culture alive. Maybe that's not the right way to say that, but you definitely adapt to your environment. And it may have been different if our parents were, like if we were the first generation in the States, we likely would have experienced that culture a little bit more.
Yeah.
With your mom or dad, had they just spent the entirety of their lives in Samoa and then came over here, I think that would have looked different. So it's interesting to, see the differences, but also the similarities between what our different sets of brothers and siblings experience growing up. Because, like I said earlier, I'm always envious when I see someone from my generation just so deeply has a deep relationship with the culture. It's a unique perspective to have, so I'm always interested to know how you guys may have felt about it.
Well, I always think it's interesting I always thought it was super cool that you guys had that connection to where you lived, to Rose Park. Because, we grew up in West Valley, and we kind of had it a little bit there, and everybody was kind of doing the same thing. But then we moved to Lehigh. Lehigh has so many different subgroups. Like, you had the cowboy guys over here, you had the rich tech kids over here. So we never really had that Like, I even, on my mission, I hesitated to tell people I was from Lehigh. So I was like, I'm not really from Lehigh, but then, like, I'm really from Lehigh. So whereas, like, I knew elders that would be, like, from West Jordan, Rose Park. But yeah, I'm from West Jordan. I'm from West Park. So I'd be proud of where you come from. And I never had that until...
You're not proud to be a pioneer?
I am now. I learned, I'm like, hey, I have to be proud because that's all I got in my past. But no, I thought that was super cool. I forgot, how old were you guys both? Did you guys start at Legacy as freshmen?
I went to West freshman year, but then finished sophomore to senior at Legacy.
Okay.
I think we started, you were at 8th grade.
Yeah, we
And
went
then
8th
I
grade,
was 7th grade.
went back to
West.
Yeah, he went to West for
and
his
then
freshman
went
year.
back to Legacy.
I didn't get those that treatment. I just had to stay over there.
You didn't get the chance to make it work.
They gave me the option to go back to West my junior year and senior year, but
Did you guys still play football at West, though?
Yep.
yeah.
So
Because Legacy didn't have a football team.
Yeah.
But basketball at Legacy.
Basketball at
Basketball
Legacy.
at
That's because
Legacy.
we went into 1A junior year. And,
yeah.
Made
But-
sense for us to stay.
Yeah, easier to dunk on the one.
The kids from Delta.
Playing the detention center.
Who's the better basketball player?
And for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't going to say
I don't tell him. That's the first time I'm telling him, but
Wow.
Because I remember sometimes we'd come up when you guys would play ball at one of the Rose Park chapels. Bro, and I just remember watching. I'm like, bro, this is some of the most intense basketball I've ever seen.
he's a better athlete for sure, but I would say basketball, yeah. A
So-
little bit of edge.
Did you guys both play football all through high school as well?
He did.
I did.
Yeah, he did.
Well, you didn't play like at all?
I played junior, I played all the way Little League up to junior, and then just was not for me.
Yeah.
I remember Bobby used to hit people.
Yeah. I think.
How much CTE do you think you got?
Oh man.
When you get disciplined at home, you gotta take it somewhere.
Yeah.
You discipline everybody on the field.
I know you're my teammate, but we're practicing and I need that position. But I'm sorry.
You know, one of my favorite memory of Vehnu and Bobby is when we used to play Rock Band at our house. Do you still remember the words to Run to the Hill?
I sure do.
Bro,
Alternative.
dude, that's right. I remember listening to you guys. You guys were the only ones that would pick up the microphone. I'm like, dude, I think these guys. So when we heard that you guys were getting really heavy into music, and that was one of the career paths you guys were taking, I was like, that
Just made sense.
doesn't surprise me at all. Like, that's exactly who those guys were growing up. So yeah, that was always one of my favorites. So yeah, tell me more about, because obviously most of what I've heard is hip hop, R&B, and then you guys are making a lot more music that is alternative. So what in your past, obviously going to Legacy, but like how can you go more into that, going to Legacy and how that introduced you to alternative music?
Yeah, Legacy did have its, effect of introducing us to alternative music. But as far as growing up, we did hip hop music beginning because that's just what we were accustomed to, what we were surrounded by. But once we've got on this path of enlightenment, we've kind of changed our whole thing of we want to make music where people feel happy type, and we've studied so much music that it has such a huge effect on today's society. And for me, I don't want to make music about guns, shooting people up, and then my kids following that. Usually your kids follow, what you do. And for us, we're just wanting to change the dynamic of showing people that it's okay, even though you're from Rose Park, you don't have to necessarily try and fit in.
Yes.
You can be different. You can teach kids that it's okay to be the nerd, whatever they consider, you know what I mean? It's okay to be the weird guy in the class.
Just be yourself.
Exactly. And that's really where it's come from. So Legacy, I wouldn't say that's rooted from where our music started as far as alternative, but it did introduce us into a different vibe than what we were used to.
Yeah, probably just a new perspective. Period.
Facts. It was so embarrassing. We've had girls come ask us to dances, and we didn't have a doorknob on our front door, and they were just like,
half
we
of our
didn't know
door
what
was
to
like
do.
half of our door was like sticking out, and like yard wasn't done. Like,
So, yeah, and then we go to their house, and then they got basketball courts,
Basketball
they got
courts,
swimming
trampolines
pools.
in
It's
the
just
back,
like,
and
what?
we have man caves at the bottom of their houses. I'm like, What the? This is how life is supposed to be. I thought.
Who was more of a ladies' man at Legacy?
Definitely Venom. Oh, they loved Venom, man. They loved Venom. Or Vehnu is what they call it.
That's so funny.
Oh, I would say, like Venom said, it was definitely, we definitely have had a paradigm shift within our music and just our daily lives, just because we've seen the effect that our music has had on people. And of course, like, you know, with whatever we're going to do, it's always going to affect our kids. But even just kids in our area, kids out here in Utah County, just like kids from all over, like making them feel like, oh, if I want to be cool or if I want to be accepted, I have to listen to this type of music. If I want to get into music, I have to make this type of music in order to be accepted, you know. So we felt like changing our switching lanes into the indie pop or psychedelic pop, whatever you want to call it. It definitely opened up a door for us as far as our healing as well, and our grief from, you know, events that have happened in our childhood, events that have happened in early adulthood, and now as being fathers as well.
I want to go back to the impact of creating music and what it's had on your process of healing. Because that's what we want our punchline to be, is vulnerability and the ability to express that vulnerability within our family, but also to the world and whoever it might touch and help. But before we do that, Vehnu, you said something interesting about your kids being inspired by their parents, right?
Yes.
It happens all the time. You see kids of professional sports players go into the sport, artists, singers, even. I know a few accountants that have been father-son accountants for years. But you guys watch your dad like do the rap battles and everything, right? Yeah. So what was that like as a kid, watching your dad kind of express himself creatively through those scenes?
Yeah.
Do you feel like that was a big motivation going into music, or what were the feelings at those times?
Absolutely. Our dad was always the creative in our family, and anyone knows our dad. He's definitely well known in Rose Park as, you know, OG type of guy. But now seeing him in where our music has influenced our dad to be even, he doesn't even listen to hip hop anymore. He's on this whole journey for himself. But it influenced us at first. That's why we started with hip hop, just because we grew up watching our dad doing that. He was doing battle rap. Bobby was in it first. He started doing music at 15 years old with my dad. And that's where it started. And I'm just glad to see that now it's a reverse effect of our music helping him heal.
That's cool.
Yeah,
That's really cool.
It's been a journey for us.
That's another thing I do have to say. I'm super jealous of the fact that you had the whole Moon Gang, the whole family's involved in that, and I guess that's what we're trying to do with this one. But yeah, it's not very often where you get to see the full familial effect and keeping your tribe together and all doing something together.
Yeah, I agree. I would say for me, especially with our dad, I feel like it was very inspiring for us to see him in his element, you know, whether it was doing battle rap or making an album. But it also casted a sort of a standard for us, or like an expectation. Like if we're gonna do it, we better do it either as good as dad, or, you know, or surpass.
Carry the torch, build the legacy type of thing.
And so I feel like, especially with the music stuff, even now, like whenever we get music, we always send it to dad, or we always send it to our siblings, or just our immediate family members, and just they're our biggest taste testers.
Yeah,
you know. And so, as like Vehnu said, with our dad now starting his healing process, I feel like it's a joy to see, because I mean there are a lot of things, especially growing up in that area, where you know, talking about things, it wasn't a known thing. Or having that open line of communication with your parents wasn't a known thing, because for the most part, your parents would be working 2-3 jobs and be gone most of the time. And so I feel like now that we're older and able to finally have these conversations with our parents, especially my dad, when it comes to music, it's definitely, I feel like it's come full circle.
That's awesome, bro. It's something that as brothers, we've acknowledged that we never really had that relationship with each other to talk about pain or the vulnerable things or even the success. And like, hey, dude, I want you to feel proud for me, or I feel proud. Like, it's very rare that I told my brothers, I'm proud of you, dude. That's awesome.
That was actually one of my favorite episodes, is watching Quinn talk about his mission story, and just being able to be open about it and talk about it. So that was actually probably my favorite episode of your guys, just kind of seeing the that's what we're trying to be with our little brothers, trying to want them to feel like, you can come to me, brother. You don't have to feel like you're letting us down or whatever, ashamed or anything. So I just wanted to shout you guys out for that. That was dope.
Thanks.
Yeah, and so then like us as older brothers, like, bro, if you think we have it figured out, like,
Right.
we're still trying to figure it out too, man. So let us make some mistakes, and you can hopefully not make the same ones. But at the same time, we're here for you if you do, type of thing.
Yeah, we're just the guinea pigs. The older brothers are just the guinea pigs for the parents, as far as testing their parenting out. Because you're especially when you're the oldest ones, your parents are first time parents, and and this is your first time into this is your introduction into the world too. So it's like we're raising each other, and especially sometimes for us, like, it was hard for us to look at my parents soften up when it came to our younger siblings, and us like being questionable, like, man, I would have never gotten away with that, But
what are you guys doing?
But then you're able to take a step back from that and look at that, like, man, it just signifies growth within your parents and how they want to approach parenting. And also, so whenever I see like that happen, in whether with your guys' episode with your guys' younger brothers and ours with our younger brothers, it makes me happy, just because it just shows that everybody in the family is making a choice to progress, as far as our relationship between family members.
We're going to take a break to tell you a little bit about our partnership with Mana Tactical Outfitters. Mana Tactical is our first partnership, and for us as brothers, it couldn't be more perfect. On the surface, Mana Tactical is a brand that seeks to blend Polynesian heritage with the tactical utility of a modern warrior. But at its core, Mana Tactical is a movement that seeks to unite the Polynesian warrior spirit with safe, responsible, and proficient gun ownership. This is perfect for us because, one, we are Samoan. And two, we believe that the Second Amendment is a God-given right, and that right comes with the responsibility to safely protect and defend not only those in your home, but all those around you. Overall, Mana Tactical just represents a lot of the values that we hold dear to us. So head on over to manatacticaloutfitters.com/Matua Boys MTO, or use Matua Boys MTO for a 10% off your entire purchase. Head over there. They have some good gear. They have some hats, some hoodies, and every day they're announcing new stuff. So go ahead and follow them on Instagram as well at Mana Tactical Outfitters. And stay tuned. Going on back to some differences between the families. You guys have sisters, but I think more specifically, what's it like having a sister that's so much younger? Because Scylla's how old?
10, 11.
10, 11. Right?
And how old's your oldest, Vehnu?
My oldest is
8.
7.
8? 7.
Yeah, so like, what's it like having a sister that's almost the same age?
Honestly, everyone thinks Sella's my oldest child. And she pretty much is. She's with my freaking kids, all of them, our kids, all the time. Yeah. So it's actually nice having that sibling that is going to be the auntie that watches the kids.
Yeah. So what were your first thoughts when your mom and dad told you guys that they were having another kid? Because how old were you?
Okay.
No, but I was excited. I was just like, man, we're about to have another sibling, and it's a different experience. But I was so excited to have another sibling.
Because you were 20.
I was 18.
18?
18, yeah.
18, okay.
Kind of introduced us into parenthood in a way.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we were
Yeah.
the ones taking care of her
Yeah.
all the time. So shout out mom and dad.
That's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah. I feel like it's a blessing too because we're able to see, or our kids are able to see Sella grow up, and they'll always have somebody who's close in age for them to be able to relate to, and be able to just be around. Whether that be at school or whether that be at home. I feel like, especially when our parents broke us the news and we were like, what was that, like 17, 18 already? And so I felt like, yeah, it was definitely our introduction into parenthood or early parenthood for us. And just seeing her get like the best version of my parents is also a blessing too.
Oh, that's it. Super interesting because your parents have been at it for so long, and it's crazy. And then, so then you have Lyric is third, and then it goes Nas and then Navu, right?
Yep.
So as older brothers, hopefully your little brothers will listen. What do you have to say to your little brothers? What's one thing that's been on your mind lately that you just wanna open up and tell your little brothers?
Man, I love my little brothers. They come definitely from a different generation. Whereas Bobby and I, our parents were super hard on us. But I'm not saying I guess it helped Bobby and I learn that even though they didn't grow up the same way as us, they're probably dealing with things in a different way. I know that Bobby and I had conversations where he felt like, as a second child, like he looked at me like I was the favorite one. The oldest is the favorite one. He gets the most attention. Whereas I felt like different. I feel like Naz and Navu see it the same way. Just because they're the youngest, we felt like, oh, they're getting the best treatment. They don't get this and that. But they're probably looking at like my older brothers always got the attention from our parents. And I guess it was just more understanding. So I just always tell my little brothers that even though we grew up differently, I just want you to understand that we all have stuff going on. That doesn't mean that I don't love you, because if I pay more attention to Bobby at one time, if I pay more attention to you guys at one time, with Naz and Navu, it's so hard to balance out everything with, especially just having kids too. You try to be there for all your kids at the same time, but yeah, I feel like that's our kids. That's how we treat them. Is our little brothers, is we try our best to be there for them as best as we can. Yeah, I'm sorry. Every time I talk about those two, I love them so much, and I'm so thankful for them. And I'm thankful that they look up to us to want to do music with us. And yeah, we're all still learning. We don't know everything as big brothers, but we try our best.
I would say I would say for both of us, our message for our younger brothers, and I'm sure you both could relate to, is just through everything, the good and the bad, wrong or right, you will always have me in your corner, no matter what. Whether I'm 1,000 miles away or if I'm in the room right next to you, like you will always have, and we will always have a bond that's unbreakable and a connection that will transcend time and everything. And so that if there's anything I would ever leave for my younger brothers, or any message that I would leave for my younger brothers or just even my younger siblings, it would be that.
I kind of wanted to go back to music and the effect that it's had on you guys. Starting lightly, you guys have acknowledged that you've had this journey of the vibe of your music and the genre evolving, and I feel like even at the closer to the beginning, I mean, it was really cool to see my cousin's names on Apple Music and like being able to click on the songs and the differences between like 95 Baby all the way to Gatsby, and then to one of my personal favorites, Don't Wait. That song just like all of your music, like you guys have a unique voice and tone that helps with feeling. But if you guys had one song, now that you guys have kind of feeling like you've found your your voice for this phase of your career, your music making career, what would be one song that you want the world to hear? Obviously, you want the world to hear your message through all of your music, but plug one of your songs that you feel like has impacted you the most.
And I would say, like, for me, it'd be hard for it would be a disservice for me to choose one, but I feel like for me, just because of the creative process that went into it and the events that we were going through when we made it, I would say just our Roses on the Moon album in general is just like our sound. I would feel like, just because that's me merging my hip hop background and, you know, the type of music that I listened to growing up, and Vehnu merging his R&B, you know, airy vocals sound, and making something that, you know, where people don't usually collide the two to make indie pop. And I feel like that album is a great representation of where we're at in life, and also where we want to go as far as music.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. If I had to pinpoint one song, it definitely would be Gatsby, just because that was really the start of Roses on the Moon without being Roses on the Moon at the time. Where just kind of what Bobby said, the blend between his style and my style came together and really took the Polynesian community by storm, just showing that there was something different.
Yeah.
So, and that's kind of our whole mantra, is being different within, you know, your places you grow up in, or just being yourself, not necessarily being different, being yourself. So I'd probably say Gatsby.
That's fun.
Yeah.
I feel like whenever you take the aux chord, I guess that no one has aux chords these days, but when you're playing that music and people start bumping their head, that's when you know, like, it's a good song. And every single time I share that song with people, there's like, oh, it's a good song, vibing and stuff. But you guys mentioned Roses on the Moon and the life events and the process. Do you guys feel like music helped you guys become aware of, actually, I have wounds that need a healing?
Oh, definitely. Oh yeah, I would say for us, music is our therapy.
Yeah.
You know, because just because we never grew up learning how to talk to someone, whether that be each other or, you know, an outside source or a therapist or anything like that, those were foreign concepts to us, and I'm sure it was for you guys too. So it's like, for us, once we found our outlet through music, I felt like whether we were having a bad day or whether we were going through a breakup, going through a tough time, or whether we were having fun with our friends, you know, the energy from those moments always carries into our music. And so I feel like, for me, a song that I would pinpoint that for is "Letter for You," just because it talks about my relationship with my dad, my relationship with my son, and then also my relationship within myself, and seeing that, and just being like aware that I have these wounds that need to heal, but at the same time, my father has wounds that he never got to heal from until he was already a grown man, and even just wounds between me and my siblings that we never were aware enough at the time to address.
Yeah, Bobby and I, we weren't as close as we are now. We didn't always have that safe space with each other. Like, you know, he'd probably come talk to me like, yeah, I'm playing games, leave me alone, type thing. It wasn't always like how it is now. And I think that's where music came in and built that bond for us, where we share similar events that's happened. And we found that music was our way to let it out, let our story out. That's really our music is. It's not all the same because that's our journey. Different versions of us at that time. And I've seen it with my dad doing music, where he's helped us understand that even though we have so much trauma with our parents growing up, it helped us to understand that my parents have a lot of wounds that they haven't been able to talk to people about. And that's helped us understand, like, be more understanding of, my dad was probably a certain way because his dad was probably a certain way like that. And now he has an open space with as his sons telling us, and now we start to understand, like, that's why you were like that, you know? And Bobby, same thing. We had this conversation like, man, why'd you treat me like that? Why'd you? And music has allowed us to be open with each other in our music, but also outside, just because we share a common interest.
Yeah. I think it's a very good thing that you guys have a creative outlet like that you're very much invested in, that has given you the opportunity to look inside and look between the relationships and identify shortcomings and attempt to do our best to strengthen relationships and then strengthen our relationships with ourselves. Like you were saying, Bobby, it's funny to know. It's not really funny, but it's it's so fascinating to see the similarities of how you guys speak about your parents and specifically your father, because we didn't have a talking relationship with our father growing up. It was very much stay in line, listen up, do what you're told. And that's not to say he wasn't loving. Yeah. At moments we questioned that. Does this dude love us? But at the end of the day, we knew he loved us. It was just we were learning from this guy and trying to become better versions of ourselves. Obviously, I wasn't mature enough to acknowledge that younger, but now that I look back in retrospect, he expected a lot from me. And so I say all that to say it's very inspiring to see you guys be in touch with the mental struggles that everyone faces and the emotional struggles, and being humble enough to acknowledge that they're there and try to adapt and change and become better people. Yeah.
So what's next? You guys got anything on the horizon?
We have festivals booked, but we're trying to kind of pivot. We definitely want to be in more of the indie pop crowd. Mm-hmm. Like, we've done a lot of Polynesian festivals, but we're trying to go mainstream. I feel like we have a message and music that we do want to share, and I believe we can get there. So just a matter of time.
Do you guys have a label? Are you guys with a label or?
So we've been
independent?
approached. We've been approached by a few, but honestly, it just didn't.
Nothing felt right.
It didn't make sense. Some of the deals were crazy, but it just didn't make sense with what we're trying to do. And a lot of people, if you follow the music industry, a lot of them are independent.
Yeah.
It's just people get screwed left and right. So
it's getting easier, right? To kind of make it independent.
Yeah, pretty much can do everything that a label can do.
Yeah,
I mean, labels really there because they have money to put into you. So.
Labels are just big banks. Is really all it is.
Yeah, exactly.
They give you a loan at the front end and take it back
with the worst interest rates on these loans.
I just had a question. I know we talked about it a lot with our dad and uncle, just mostly about faith. And I know. Well, I don't know for sure, but I don't know where you guys stand on the church, obviously, but how, because going through your struggles and using music and all that, you still have faith in something, right? Yeah. So how does faith play a role? Because I know, and my heart breaks for you guys, because you guys have experienced a lot of loss. Like, you guys are still really young. And to experience some of the things you guys have experienced already, I know it's broken mine and my wife's heart, and we pray for you guys often through your trials. But how has having faith or keeping faith or finding faith played a role in those dark times?
So I guess the first to answer your question is we were born in the LDS church, raised in the LDS church, and I'm so thankful for everything that I have learned in the church. I guess we have stepped away from the LDS church, but as far as our base faith is, I still believe a lot of the same, same teachings, whether it's just Christianity in general.
Yeah.
I do believe that Jesus represents love, and I feel like that's the way we win, and that's kind of just, it matches the way our music speaks, is spreading love. And I'm not a big spirituality person at first, but after dealing with loss, it made me question a lot of things, like, why is this happening? Too, I don't know it just put me in a spot where, like, I don't know what to believe.
Yeah.
But now that I have a daughter that's on the other side, it's hard for me not to believe that if I do pass on, that I'll never see her again. So there's something for me to believe, like, that she's an angel taking care of us. She's on the other side fighting the demons that are trying to get to us. Mm-hmm. And that's where my faith is now, is I believe that I just got to show love, and good karma will come with it. And that's kind of my basis of my faith.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree. I would say, for me, we still definitely try to live by the core values that we were taught from the church, as far as, honoring your parents and loving your family, putting your family and putting God first. And even though we may not be a part of the church anymore, I feel like we still have a very strong belief and a very strong faith in God, and a faith of a higher being. And I feel like we struggled to find that, especially from our high school to our young adult years. But I feel like like Vehnu said, once we did experience a deep grief like we've experienced within recent years, it definitely gave us a peace of mind, knowing that, like, if we move with love and if we change our perspective on things, that we are going to see our daughters again, we are going to see our kids again and our past loved ones, and we'll have the chance to meet our mom and your dad's mom, and so I feel like sometimes you do have to go through that, of either having little to no faith, for you to feel like for you to feel lost, so that way you can find your way again. And I would like the story of the iron rod, and I feel like even though we may not stay close to the gospel or stay close to the church, I feel like in how we move in our daily lives says more than us showing up to church every Sunday. And how we treat each other, how we treat our cousins, how we nurture our relationships with our family members and the people who love us, says more to us and our minds and our hearts than, reading our scriptures every day. Because I feel like, you can read all the scriptures you want, you can do all the things you want, you can be a bishop for all I care, but at the end of the day, it's who you are. It's who you choose to be every day, and how you choose to treat the people, especially the people who are around you every day. And I'd say, just to wrap this up, I would say the hardest thing about faith is sometimes it is blind. Sometimes you don't know. Sometimes you do have that feeling where it's just like, man, do I really believe in this? Or do I really believe that, I'm going to see my daughter again, or I'm going to see my family again if once I pass from this life? And, I feel like when it comes to our music, we've just always felt that comforting feeling, that comforting feeling of, a blanket around us, and that warm feeling of just knowing, like, I know I'm going to see my daughter again. I know this isn't the end. Death isn't the end for me or for anyone who's experienced it.
Yeah, I've just a little story. I was in a place where, this was just last year, we opened up for the Katinas. I don't know if you guys heard of it. They're a Christian band. I was in a place where I was just like, I don't believe in anything. And then this was
last year.
Yeah. And then when they started singing, praising that the music that they made was so beautiful. Like I started crying. I texted these guys like, holy, bro. Like, what the heck? I don't know what just happened, but I definitely know I've had a feeling that made me feel like everything's going to be okay. And I felt my daughter more than any time in my life at that moment. So I truly believe there's a God. And like Bobby said, we don't go to church. We don't read scriptures or anything. I think it's just we just carry ourselves to represent the idea of Jesus and everything. So
I like that, and that's probably the main reason I ask. Just because I know that's another difference that we had growing up, and I think that's part of preparing my relationship with you guys. Not that there's damage, but just let you guys know that we don't look at you guys any different, just because the whole church thing, and that's I'm overjoyed to hear that faith still plays a role in your life, because I know that is, and like you said, Christ is King, and the teachings that He has taught can get us through anything. But I think that's the glue that'll hold our families together and hold our relationships, no matter how that's observed. And I do think you're correct, because like you said, I know some pretty shitty bishops out there who give the church a bad name and do things right. So it doesn't matter what you're saying with your words, as long as you're doing it with your actions. And I definitely look up to you guys for that, because I would say that you guys have probably been through more than me personally. I can't speak for any of my brothers, but and yeah, to see you guys just keep carrying on. There's a lot of things I know. I've learned that on my wife's side and on my side, every no family is shielded from those thoughts of self-doubt and not wanting to carry on anymore. And I think once we experience those things and find our way through it, I think it becomes our responsibility to help carry our family members through those same things. So, but yeah, and I don't know if you guys, you probably haven't, but for me, I always felt like, not that there was a disconnect because we were going to church and you weren't. I was scared that there was a disconnect. And for me, I just want to just kind of clear the air and say that I never thought any less, and I hope that you guys never thought that I thought any less of you guys for being part, because it's not for everyone. The church is, I know a lot of people don't like to hear it, but it's not for everyone. And but Christ is for everyone, and that love is for everyone.
I agree. And just to clear the air as well on our behalf, I hope you guys know that it wasn't just that we felt like we were looked at differently. It was just us within our own ward, the church we were going to, with people that we were dealing with on a daily basis, where we were getting that shame. So obviously it just branched out to everyone, like, oh, everyone's looking at us differently. But like I said, we've had this talk actually recently about, man, I wish we got to hang out with our cousins a lot more on our mom's side. I wish we got to understand each other a lot more. It's hard to really create a bond if I'm not understanding where you're coming from, you're understanding where I'm coming from. And that's why we agreed to do the podcast, because I was like, I'd love to chop it up with them. I'd love to understand, what's the differences in growing up, and at the end of the day, I love you guys. I love every single one of my mom's family, and I hope that they know as well that I don't look at anyone different. I don't think anyone looks at me different. I think that when we were just growing up, we like that mindset. We're stuck in that mindset of everyone, a chip on our shoulder. Everyone's looking at us different, but we're just in a different space now where, Frank, I love you no matter what. You can, even if you did look at me different, I'll still come over there and hug you. So,
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, now that Bobby's in Lehigh.
I'm down the street whenever you guys are free.
Back to faith. I just wanted to express my own gratitude for what you each shared, because I think that is the most important thing around the world. If humanity could somehow figure out differences are okay, having the differences of opinions are okay, even the differences of lifestyle is okay, the number one thing is love, right? And being willing to express that love with one another and put differences aside, and wherever your source of love is coming from, as long as it is expressed freely and not putting up walls, that's the most important thing. So yeah, it was a huge part of our life growing up. Every Sunday, go to church. On vacation, go to church. And it is important to acknowledge there's people in the pews that are at the end of the day still people, and a lot of times there's bad people in there that make terrible decisions and harm people. And so being behind the walls of a church shouldn't be the thing that unites people, but instead the love. And that's the role that faith plays in my life. Is it keeps me centered and hopefully trying to be a better person and impacting the world in a positive way. And I've recently, in the last 2-3 years, have really been testing myself by trying to learn how to be a good father, and that's how I want to positively impact the world, is make sure Jane and Molly aren't terrible human beings. Make sure they're good. But so yeah, I mean, this is the very first time that I've ever had like I don't want to say genuine, because every time I've spoken to you guys and said what's up, it's like it's genuine. You guys are blood, and it's been I'm 20 27 or 8 here soon, and in the 28 years of my life, have yet to have a conversation like this with blood, and it's frustrating, to say the least, because I wish that I could have been mature enough to sit down and, instead of saying, "Hey, what's up? Oh, it's good." Yeah, things are good. Like, sit down and say, "How are you, bro? Tell me what's new. Tell me where's your pain? You know, let me tell you where mine is." And I think as you know, we move forward, I think it's important that we try to stay close and try to stay open and vulnerable, and try to strengthen that, bringing it like full circle. The culture, it doesn't need to be the Samoan culture, the Rose Park culture, the Pioneer culture, the church culture. It needs to be the culture of family and love. And so I hope that moving forward, I hope this conversation was the start of something new, as Troy Bolton once said. But but I hope
never closing it up.
I genuinely hope moving forward, you guys know that I'm more than wanting to have a genuine, deep relationship and connection with you guys, and my door is always open, and we should all commit to, you know, having our families be closer, including, you know, our parents' siblings and their children as well. Yeah. So it always, every time this is what, the 4th time we've had guests on and talk to them. It always ignites this and rekindles this feeling of just connectivity, and, you know, regardless of whatever differences, whether there were differences or not, it's just nice to sit down and look you guys in the eyes and just feel the connection, because I know it's there. And so I just appreciate you guys coming on and being willing to be vulnerable and share your experiences, and hope to have you guys on again. Sure. Oh, do you want to say one last thing?
Me?
The closing question. The closing question that you had?
Oh yeah, so far we've closed every interview the same. But we just want to give you guys a chance as brothers to say something to your brother in the room, and just air out anything.
I hate how nah, playing. Man, my dog been with me through everything, and it'll forever be like that. And you already know, brother. And for our brothers here, I love y'all, man. Like Chase said, man, we're blood, which is why none of it should ever be awkward from this point on, because we share the same genealogy. We share the same genes. We come from the same bloodline, and so I hope that I'm glad that even with us just talking here, we're breaking generational curses that have been passed down from our family of not talking to another and not having these deep relationships or deep connections with each other. And so thank you guys for having us. I love you, brothers, and wherever we're at in the world, you guys are with us. Whenever you guys need us, we're there. And that's all I want to say.
Well, first to Bobby. Although he is my little brother, I always tell him how much he inspires me. He's inspired me for music, and seeing him as a dad as well inspires me to be a better dad every day. And I love you, brother, and you already know. And then to you guys, to my brothers, I just want to say that I'm sorry it took so long. I'm sorry it did take us a long time to rekindle a relationship that did seem awkward. At family functions, it was always just sectioned off, And I feel like that's started because the generation above us, between the siblings, and it kind of just trickled down. But now this is where it starts, and I'm so thankful for you guys. I truly believe that love is the answer, and as I don't know if you guys know, we've always been jealous, envious of just looking at you guys, but like I said, now we understand where you guys come from and we come from, and I'm just here to blend it.
Let's do it. We can all be ourselves. And
exactly.
Facts.
Well, thanks for coming, guys.
Thank you.